I'm Kristen with Sweet Whimsy here for Applique Embroidery, and I'm going to take you step by step through the basics of applique. One of the most important tools and the most fun to buy is your fabric. You'll look at your design and decide how many panels of fabric that you need. You can choose any color, any type of fabric. Be as creative as you want to. In this particular design, we're going to use a batik green and a solid blue. Perhaps the most important aspect to the success of your final design is your stabilizer. Now, stabilizer is also the most confusing part of applique. So in the beginning, when you're just learning, try not to get bogged down by all the different types of stabilizer there are. Basically, you've got three different types. You've got your tearaway stabilizer, you've got your iron-on stabilizer, and you've got your topping. Each type of stabilizer has a different purpose and is used with a different fabric. Now, I'm using this iron-on stabilizer for today's project because it works well with stretchy knits. It's also iron-on, so it's easy to hoop. If you were embroidering on terry cloth, you'd want to use a water-soluble topper because it holds the loops of the terry cloth down while you sew. There are also many reasons you would want to use your typical tearaway stabilizer. It works well on cottons and items that will need a little bit more stabilizing, such as designs with a high thread count. Before you choose a stabilizer, look online to determine the correct weight and type of stabilizer for your project. Good high-quality scissors are necessary for a beautiful end result. So if you're gonna splurge somewhere, splurge here. These particular scissors are all made by Gingher, but there are other companies that are just as good. What you're looking for is a heavy weight and a very sharp tip. Now, there are lots of different types of scissors that are used during applique, and much of it will be up to your personal preference. You can use your typical embroidery scissors, which have a curved tip and a very sharp point. You can also use duck-billed applique scissors. Now, these are fun and they help you get very close to the stitching without cutting through the fabric. Now, my favorite are the double curved applique scissors. They have a large curve here near the handle that allows you to move up and over your hoop, and also a small curve at the tip and a very sharp point to get you close to stitching. Next, you'll need your embroidery hoop. Each embroidery machine has its own set of hoops in different sizes. You'll choose the hoop that's just big enough for your design. Today we're using the 100 by 100 millimeter hoop. The digital applique design is the source of your inspiration for this project. You can find them on many different websites. I like to use Applique Embroidery fonts and designs. You'll simply navigate the site, choose a design you like, purchase it, and then download it to your embroidery machine. Last, but certainly not least, is a good quality iron. Now, you'll want to look for an iron that's heavy in weight and has a steam function. Now that we've got all our tools ready, on to the fun part. We're going to start with this t-shirt from my project, or whatever you've chosen to applique. The first thing we need to choose is where to place our design. Now, in my case, I want to put my applique design right in the middle of the chest. So here's what I do. A fast and easy trick to line up designs in the middle of a shirt is to fold the shirt directly in half. Now, start by folding the shoulder seams here and lining up the side seams here. When the seams are lined up as perfectly as you can get them, now take your iron and steam a crease. Be sure to use a lot of steam because you want the crease to hold during the hooping process. So now we've found the direct center of our shirt. Next, turn your shirt inside out. Cut a piece of stabilizer just larger than the hoop that you're using. In this case, I'm using an iron-on stabilizer. So I'm going to take the shiny side of the stabilizer and lay it down. I'm placing it approximately where I want my design to be, and I'm going to steam it into place. Now we're ready to hoop. I'm going to estimate how far down I want the center of my design to go, but if you want to be more precise, you can always measure it out. You're going to break your hoop apart, take the back of the frame and place it inside the shirt. Now take the top of your hoop and line it up along the center line that we created with the crease. Typically on hoop frames there will be an arrow to guide you. You can choose to place the design higher or lower depending on your needs. Snug up your frame and test to make sure the fabric is in there snugly by tapping. It should sound like a drum. Resist the urge to tug after it's in the frame. Doing that will only distort your shirt and ultimately distort your design. Load the design that you've chosen into your embroidery machine and attach your hoop. You'll need to pull the fabric away from the bottom of your frame. Place the fabric under your foot and attach to your embroidery arm. You want to make double and triple certain that there is no fabric underneath the embroidery hoop. Thread your machine and then you're good to go. The first stitch will be your placement stitch. The placement stitch shows us where to place our first panel of fabric. The next stitch will be our tack down stitch. Now we're going to remove the hoop from the machine, but don't ever remove your fabric from the hoop. Then we're going to trim away all the excess fabric, getting as close to the stitching as possible without going through it. We've switched thread colors and now we're ready to move to our next panel. Again, that was our placement stitch to show us where to put our fabric. Make sure you're covering the entire placement stitch and that the fabric panel is very smooth. That was our tack down stitch. Now it's time to remove the hoop and trim our fabric away. Now we're going to just repeat this process until all the fabric panels are complete. Now that our applique design is finished, we're going to remove the hoop from the machine. And remove our project from the hoop. Now we'll want to clean up the front of the design by trimming the jump threads. Now some machines leave more jump threads than others, and that's okay. So we'll just go through and trim them all up. Now that our jump threads are finished, we're going to bring it over to the ironing table. We're going to turn the shirt inside out to get to the stabilizer. If you use an iron-on stabilizer, you can remove it just as easily by heating it back up with the iron. And then pull it. It will remove easily. You pull it right up to the stitches. and then we'll trim around it, being very careful not to cut the fabric. In fact, it's easiest to hold it by the stabilizer so that you can see through and you know you're not going to be cutting your t-shirt behind it. Now we're going to clean up the back of our design just like we did the front. So if you have any long threads hanging loose, now's the time to trim those. It isn't necessary to clean up stitches that aren't long or that are tacked down in other places, because we're going to cover those up in just a moment. Lay your piece out flat. Cut a small section of your cover stitch, just large enough to cover up your design. It's going to have a shiny back and a matte front. You want to put the shiny back down over your design and adhere it with the iron using plenty of steam and pressure. The more firmly you adhere it now, the longer it will last. This prevents any of the rough edges from the stitching from touching baby's skin. Now the only thing left to do, flip the shirt inside out, give it a good ironing. This is beginning applique. We walk through the basics from online digital design to finished product. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. And don't forget to thumbs up if you found this helpful. Thanks for watching, and this is Kristen with Sweet Whimsy. See you next time.